Welcome to today's webinar of Dream Composer. And what is Dream Composer? Dream Composer is a 3D visualization software from the company Kurz, which helps you or the designers to show embellished products or embellishment on their products, such as packaging, such as different kinds of labels. And it kind of helps you to cut down the prototyping process while you design and show your physical, your online mockups basically with embellishment and also to your customers. A little bit to my person, my name is Konstantin Prusak. I am the responsible product owner for Dream Composer, and I want to show you today a little bit how the software works and how we use the software to show embellishment, to cut down those times and basically also the costs of physical products, and be in these terms a little bit also on the sustainability side. So if you have questions during the presentation, I would ask you to write these in the question section down below that you see. And after the presentation, which takes roughly 45 minutes, I will go through those questions and try to answer them to the best of my knowledge. All right, enough of me rambling, and we will jump in the software right now. So Dream Composer is a web-based application. So you can type in dreamcomposer.de in your internet browser, and you are presented with this landing page here. So basically, it's a regular landing page, and you are able to see on the right-hand corner a login button where you then can press and also log in with your login credentials. Mine are already put in here, so we can press login. And we are presented with a very clean look, basically, where you see on the left side a projects list. Basically, here is nothing in here yet, of course, because we haven't uploaded anything yet. And on the right side, you can see the basic sample or a sample box that you can already twist and turn and see embellishment on this box already. So we can turn this around, see the reflection, see how the metallization looks. Of course, we want to see how our own products look like this, or when we put embellishment on it, and we can easily do that by uploading PDFs. So print-ready PDFs are fine, and we can do that by clicking down here at the upload button, and either drag and drop a PDF inside of this area here, or we click and then this browser window from your computer opens up, and you can just easily select one of the PDFs that you have. So for this case, I would like to use the Kurz Champagne, which is a champagne box, and I will open this here. And I also want to jump off, and we'll show you this in that viewer over here. So this is a very basic square box of a champagne for a champagne bottle that goes around it. And as you can see, there's different kinds of information that is inside of this PDF. So we can already see those red lines that go around, which are here the cutting lines. So the die line that goes around the whole area here, as well as the blue lines, which indicate that these are the folding lines, or the folding or the crease lines that you are then later in the software you're able to fold that to a 3D box. Because right now, of course, this is a flat design, it's unfolded, and we do not really understand how that looks like when it's folded. When we look on the left, we have some layers in here. So there's this layer folding, which contains all the information of the folding lines as well as the cut lines that are in here. So this is important. When we deselect it, you can see what is inside, and it is important when you upload something that this is information that you put in your file, because this is the information that we try to read out and then cut out the different kinds of formats that are important for you. So it's also the same idea for labels. If you would have a label, it's important to have the cut line, the die line around the label, so the software knows where to cut around. And this needs to be in a specific layer, or when you use a spot color workflow, you can do that as well. You can see here also other layers which are named foil 1, print, foil 2. These are important when you want to embellish something. So here in foil 1, for example, when we deselect it, we see there is all the letters that are in here. So the text champagne is inside of that layer, as well as a little bit of the logo that is inside of here. So this is important when we then later on use the embellishment. So when you put embellishment on a specific layer, this is also all the information that is then put on that specific text here, for example. So every layer that is presented can be then later on used to put different kinds of materials on it, or embossings or whatsoever. And as you can see for print, this is all the colorful area here, or the foil 2 is the background, the gray background area to put stuff on it. All right, so this is the basic setup of the PDF and how we would set it up to then upload it to the Dream Composer. And yeah, let's do this, and I'll just close this here. And we already see I've pressed open, and we can see this is now loaded to inside this area, and it's called, it takes just the regular title name or file name of this PDF. We can call that whatever we want. You can give it a different name, you can give it a different description, but you do not need to. When you press create, this file is being uploaded to our servers and then interpreted with all the information that is inside. So like I said before, the folding lines that are in there, as well as the cut lines that are in the PDF, this is the information that we then use. And already you can see that it is loading and trying to understand the different kinds of information that is inside this PDF. So as you can see, the file is now loaded up, and as we can see, it is cut out and basically in that flat manner, as we would expect when we open a PDF. Of course, this is now not folded in a specific way, because obviously we do not know what angle we need to fold it to, and we can do that manually by going to this icon here, which is called Configure Folds. When we click this here, we can already see, let me zoom in a little bit, we can see there are dashed lines that are going across here, as well as here, and have different kinds of letters. This is the information that we gathered from the blue lines that we have seen before. So all the folding lines that are that were presented in blue before are now in those dashed lines. So we were able to read all those folding lines, and we can now select them just single like that. Yeah, you now see a angles for selection slider, where you can just use this slider to then pull that to a specific angle of your choice. Of course, this is a square box, so most of the folds in here are a 90-degree fold. But as you can see, this has now been folded, and we can definitely turn and twist this in 3D space. Well, of course, you do not need to click them every time, just the single line. You can also select multiple lines at the same time, and you can do that by pressing the Shift key on your keyboard, as well as clicking with the left mouse key. Then you're able to select multiple lines here, and you can then basically just take that and fold it to a specific area. But like I said, we know this is a square box, and I'm a little bit of a lazy guy sometimes, so I'd like to fold that way faster, and we can do that by going to the right hand side here, and we see different kinds of check marks or boxes for check marks, and these are the letters that have been applied to the different fold lines. So you can either select them here by the check marks, or you can just go down here if you have more than this and select all edges, and then all edges are selected, and we can just go down here to that lower row and basically just press 90 degrees. And now we can see the box is instantly folded with all of the sides or all of the creases to a 90-degree fold. There is just one caveat to this. Up here, we see this lip, and this lip kind of sticks out. What this is basically that goes inside of the box and on top of the bottleneck. So this is not a 90-degree fold. There's actually two folds that are inside of here. But to make my life a little bit easier, I will just fold this inwards to the box to get rid of this for now. You could do that in a way better manner if you wanted to. Another thing that we can see here in the back is flickering. Kind of, it looks like an artifact here on the left side or in the left corner of that box here. This is a glue lash, basically. And what happens here is, since we pressed for all the folds that a 90-degree angle is selected, those two areas are now put inside of each other. Of course, physically this is not possible, but here in the software it is. So in this case, in the real world, this would be that one fold would be 90.1 degrees and the other fold would be 89.9 degrees, for example. So they can lay on top of each other. And here, like I said, they're laying inside of each other, and then one side shows through and then the other one. That's how that artifact kind of appears. And what we can do here is just select that, and I can fold that a little bit outward so we see this lash, how that comes out. But to then get rid of this, we just fold that inwards so we have that 90 degrees here, so you can see how that flickers. And we just fold it inwards by 1 degree, for example, and then this flickering goes away. I just usually show this because this sometimes comes up as a question why that is, and it seems like an artifact. But I think it's important that when you know that this is just easily a physical problem that is in here, and how to solve it, I think it's important to mention here. We now want to, of course, see how that box looks like with embellishment. Yeah, so we can see this is the box that we have put together, and it already gives a pretty good impression when it comes to 3D. So it does already help your brain to model this as a box, and this takes of course a little bit of brain power away. Some people can already imagine a box, some people have difficulties for that, but this kind of helps already in the first step. And now we want to, of course, also put embellishment on it, and this is something that is even a step further. So we do that by clicking here the area layers and design, and we can see that there are different layers in here. So these are the layers that we have seen before in the PDF file. So we have the foil 2, we have the print, we have the foil 1. These are obviously named not very specific, so they do not have anything in it like gold or anything. So you do not need to give them names, very specific names, and then hope that this is done automatically for you. So this is actually done that you can name those layers the way you want and do not have to worry about then automatically selecting it. So you would need to do that by yourself, but you can easily tell them apart by hovering over this icon here, and you can see there's a grayed out area what is inside of this layer. So you can see that in the viewer what is on the box, and also below this icon you can see that there's this gray area, so the background area of that PDF, for example, in this layer. Or in print, you can see there's all the colorful area here that we have in print, or in foil 1, as we have seen, the text and a little bit of the logo. So you can just hover over them and then make sure you're selecting the right layer. For now, we want to choose the foil 2, and we go into material, and then we can already see there is a material list that is opening up, and we can select different kinds of materials here. So different kinds of metallized materials that you can select, as well as, if we scroll a little further, opaque materials which are not metallized, or a little further, we have semi-transparent materials that shine through if there's a print behind it, or then a couple of holographic ones down here, for example. So you can select from this material list anything you want. It doesn't matter. So since we have named it foil 2, we can put everything down that we wanted to. For this example, I will just start with a gold. Yeah, so this kind of gold here, and we can see this already is applied to that background area, and it already gives a pretty good impression how this looks like when we apply the material to that background area with all the reflections and all the yeah, basically the metallization. And there's different kinds of materials that you can choose from. You can easily just click and select the different ones. So now we have that teal or bluish kind of color, or go with this one, for example, which is not that much metallized, but you can already see and tell apart. So you can easily go through this and select different kinds of colors and apply them, and play around with it and have this design prototyping process where you can just play around and think, okay, yeah, maybe gold is not good, maybe I want maybe a silver or something. So you can easily just select different kinds of materials here. Yeah, for example, the holographic ones down here as well that you can play around with. But I will, for the sake of the next thing, I would go back to gold because I think it stands out a little bit better. And now we want to put embellishment as well on the text here. And we do that by going back to layer list up here. When we click that, we see our layers, and we can then easily go to foil 1 because we know in foil 1, this is our text layer. And we can just click here on material again, and we see this is the same material list that we can choose from and have the possibility to select anything we want. Now I want to show you something. I've now selected a silver color, and we can see when I zoom in a little bit, the gold and the silver kind of mix together and do not look that important, or it doesn't stand out. So you cannot really tell them apart. And the reason why I did this is to show you how we can solve this problem if you have two kinds of embellishments. Here you see now this is kind of blown out. Of course, this doesn't look that perfect, but what you can do now to make it stand out is put an embossing, for example, on that text. And we can do that by going here. Maybe one of you already read it. You can click embossing over here, and you have a couple of embossing and debossing types that you can choose from. And we'll just pick one, for example, this one, emboss rounded. And this usually takes a couple of seconds to then load. And we see this looks very thick, but that's okay. I mean, you can dial that down by just taking it down a level, and you can already see how that looks even better. Yeah. So if there's something that stands out too much, you can take that down, dial that down with that level slider down here, and you can already see, even though we now have gold and silver applied to this box, now those letters stand out, and it makes it look even better. Or in terms of embossing, I think it makes it a pretty cool look. Of course, you could use deboss as well. So when we press deboss, we can try that out. As well as here, the render times are dependent a little bit on your internet connection as well as on your computer. But you can see now this, the letters are now pushed inwards. So you can play around with this, have different kinds of options here, and just play around with the embossing, or better, the debossing as well. Maybe you've already seen it. Here there is one blank area which is called embossed by texture. And what is meant by that is basically we look at the information that is inside the layer. So there is usually a grayscale in some sort that we use, or that has to be in the layer that we can read out and then use this information to have some sort of multi-level emboss. So in this case, we would use, let's say, the lighter colors. So everything what is white is embossed higher, and everything what is black is embossed lower or at the substrate level. So in this case, we can do that by, I will just deselect it and we will look at the print, and I will zoom a little bit inwards. So we can see the contour here is white, right? So it's white, and you can understand, okay, this has to be later on embossed, has to be embossed higher. And then you have the filling, which is gray, so it has to be embossed lower. So there will be some sort of texture that we can read out. And now let's try this. I will apply the silver here again, and we go to emboss and press emboss by texture. And as we expect, now the contour is embossed higher and the inner filling is embossed lower. It is not at the substrate level, but it's lower than the outer contour. But you can already see this is now the texture that you can play around with. And there is no limitations. You can play around with different kinds of gray scales and try it out and try to get different kinds of feels of your embossings there. So you're basically free to move around with embossings here in these terms. Maybe now we want to even go a step further and apply different kinds of textures. So we call it micro nano embossings, which are from our daughter company H+M. I'll just go back here to the layer list, and I will select the one with foil 2. So that is our background area here, so we can see it a little bit better, what I mean. But you can apply it to anything you want. So when we click here for micro nano embossing, we see there are different kinds of structures that we can apply to our materials. So currently there are roughly 130 textures in here. And in this case, since it's a champagne box, I usually like to use the bubbles, yeah, to make it a little bit more fancy in terms, but you can already see this is how it would look like with the texture applied to that background area, as well as you could easily click through, have some sort of different kinds of materials here or textures here that also break the light in a different way, so it gives a different kind of mood. Or yeah, you can easily just apply anything and give it a different or a new unique look, and which makes it very fancy. I don't know, I wouldn't buy this one. It would probably cost a couple $100 here in the store like that. No, but you can apply different kinds of things and basically have fun with applying different kinds of textures. Right, so this is basically what you can do with the in terms of putting embellishment on boxes and on different kinds of projects or objects better, and give them a touch to kind of understand how they would look like with embellishment on it. I now want to focus a little bit more on the surroundings of the box. So as you maybe already have seen, here are different kinds of like blurred out objects. So these surroundings here, we call them skyboxes. So this is an environment that contains the light and a lighting situation, and you can change that from a settings menu. And you do that by going down here to the view settings icon. So this icon down here, and you can see there is the settings menu opening up, and you can already tell there is a point skybox, and this one is called duty free shop. And when you click this drop-down menu, you can see there's different kinds of presets in here. When we press liquor store, for example, this is a way more dim lighting situation. So you can see this is a way warmer light, which then gives a completely different impression of that box. Yeah, you can see the light comes more from the side, and it gives a way more darker kind of theme. And yeah, you can easily play around with different kinds of moods and mood settings here. But you can also get rid of the background in total. So if you do not want to have this blurred out background, but only want to keep the lighting situation, as you can see here, you can do that by going back here to that settings menu, clicking or deselecting the visible check mark. And as you can see, the lighting stays the same, but the background is now turned off, and you can apply a completely different color of your liking. So there's a background color here that you can apply in that color palette. You can either just drag this slider here across and then click inside of this, or you can punch in hex values or RGB values, as well as we have a couple of presets down here that you can easily select. And then you can already see there is a specific background for, I don't know, your brand or your project that you want to kind of apply it to. And of course, down here, you can see there's this grid. You can get rid of this as well by deselecting this one here. And now you have a pretty cool looking box in a, yeah, basically clean background. And you can send this to a customer or to a colleague to send it to review, for example. Maybe while we're here in that settings menu, we can already jump a little bit down further. There is this area which is called render quality. I've said it before already, but there is the possibility that, or it is the possibility that you are able to use that software. It doesn't matter on a PC, on a Mac, and it really actually doesn't matter on what kind of system. But of course, there has to be a specific graphical power. And if you notice that it slows down, you could take down the render quality here as well to speed up your process while you're working. For example, I will zoom in to show you a little bit how that looks. So you can take that down here to, for example, very low, and you can see this is now a little bit grainy and it doesn't maybe look that great anymore, but it helps you when it comes to computing power. So if your computer isn't too strong, you can dial it down to low, very low, it doesn't matter, and then it usually helps already to play around with this. And of course, you can bump this up again when you then want to show something and give it already the final look. Yeah. So, but usually most of the computers that have an external graphics card are completely fine with this. Like I said, maybe you want to show this to a customer or in an internal meeting to your colleagues, and you can do that by easily sending of course, a screenshot. Yeah, you can render out a 4K screenshot, which is down here. So you have the possibility to then, when you click this, and this area will look like this, and you will get a screenshot, download it to your inbox, and you can use that and send it via email. Or you could use our dynamic link, which is called viewer. And when you click this, there is this Dream Composer unique link, which is generated for every project, and you can just select copy, for example, or if you're in a meeting, you can scan this QR code and then send this link to anybody via email, and they can open this up separately. Yeah, they can look at the project but not change anything. I'll just quickly show this. Opening up here a new tab, and we will paste this in, and then this is being loaded. And we can see this is now the box that we have designed and put different kinds of materials on. And you can send this to, like I said, to a customer or your teammate, and you can already tell this looks pretty good, for example, or the customer says, yeah, it looks good. Maybe I don't like the gold very much here in the background. Can we change that? And while you're on the call with them, you could say, yeah, no problem, we can change that. So I go back and select a different kind of color instead of gold. The customer rather wants blue, for example, then we change it to blue. And when we go back, it will change here as well. So it changes fairly instantly. Of course, it takes a couple of seconds, but you can work through it together, even though like it does, if you are not on Teams and have a video conference, you can do that easily via phone or change that in a very quick manner. So I think this is very unique in terms of when it comes to showing the product to somebody, because it kind of helps the other side better to understand, because you can turn it, you can twist it, you can look at it from other sides, you can zoom in, you can zoom out. So this kind of helps in terms of bringing your point across. And I think this is yeah, a very cool feature, and kind of also, yeah, the good thing when you have it as a web-based application. So you, like I said, you would need to have an internet connection to load this up, but then you could use it also on your phone or your tablet if you wanted to. All right, I will close this here, and I will show you a little bit of something that is not a box. I will upload a different kind of project, and we will look at labels. So we can go up here to our upper left corner, and we now see this is our projects list, and we have demo champagne, for example, in here, which we uploaded, and now this layer list, this projects list, sorry, fills up with stuff that you are uploading. So now we do the same thing as we did before. We press upload, and then we can either drag and drop like before, or click in here, and we are able to select a PDF. In this case, I will upload a label. We will not look at it at the beginning, because I think you got the point how that usually looks. And like I said before, it's a little bit dependent on your internet connection, how big the file is and how long the upload takes. So this file now was 3 megabytes big, but you can upload files that are even bigger than 150 megabytes. Of course, then it will take longer. So the process of being uploaded will take time, dependent a little bit on your size of the PDF and how many layers you have in here, and so on and so forth. So that is something that is obviously a little downside when it comes to a web-based application, but the initial upload usually is the one that takes the longest, and then afterwards, every time you open the project again, this usually then is way quicker to load. But as we can already see, we have different kinds of layers in here on the left, on the right-hand side, that we can apply different kinds of materials to. And the label has been loaded, and we can see this is now cut out. Of course, it doesn't have any folding lines, so we are not able to fold it here. But let's apply a couple of things to it. So in this case, we have a print, which is in the background. I can show you. This is this kind of stone pattern, which is behind all of the other layers. And then we have, for example, a gray area, an orange area, which is here up top, and the logo, which is here. And when we apply something here on the orange layer, for example, when we click here into material, so it's the same thing as before, and we scroll down to Lumaphene, which I've told you before are the semi-transparent materials. So when we apply that to the front, we still have the print in the background. So the print then shines through. So basically, when I select it, we can now see this print area is here printed on that sheet in the background, and then this film, or basically the material, is applied to the front, and it shines through and it gives that bluish kind of color. Of course, you could take another color here as well, red, for example. And I think this kind of gives a pretty good impression when you work with semi-transparent materials, because it's not easy to do that and not easy to showcase in a flat manner. And that really helps to bring your point across when it comes to showing different kinds of semi-transparent materials here and applying them to your products. Now let's see how we can apply other things here as well. So in this case, let's apply something for the area of the logo. Let's go to logo here and go with a different color, maybe this one here. So it gives this kind of matte kind of metallized look. And when we go to embossing, let's give it a small embossing here as well. And we can already tell this now sticks out and gives a pretty good impression. And maybe, yeah, also take that background, the gray background here, and put something like that or so. Yeah, to give it a unique look here. And you have the possibility to easily change around and put different kinds of materials on this label, and now it looks completely different than when we uploaded it, right? So you are able to play around and put different kinds of materials on it, and to easily then basically show how that would look like with different kinds of options. But the reason why I also uploaded this label is not only to show you what you can apply it to, but to show you also how a label is being applied to a bottle. So we do have this area here with those building blocks. So when you click this, you can see there's different kinds of shapes in here. And there are a couple of basic wine bottles in here that you can apply it to. And we'll just go with wine bottle green, for example. And this will take a couple of seconds to load. So we will load this wine bottle, and you will see this bottle has a white area, which is where the label then will be applied to. And you will be able to then apply the label by yourself because it asks you to apply the front and the back label. Now you can see here on the right side that this box is blinking, and it asks us to assign a front and a back label. So like I said, we have the possibility to apply the labels here at the label front. This is the first one. If we would have a back label, we could use this here as well. Since there is only a front label in here, we cannot use this, but and the back label would be in the same PDF, a little bit to the right or to the left. It just needs to be in the same PDF with their own cutout area. And then you would be able to select a front and a back label easily. So you can just click in here, and then of course it asks us to apply a back label, but since we do not have one, we can just easily deselect it by pressing or deselecting here this eye icon. But as you can see, when I turn it around, we can see there is this label which is applied to that bottle front, and maybe we want to adjust the size a little bit or where it is, so a little bit more up top or at the bottom, and we can easily do that by just going here to this icon on the really right side of the label front, for example, or if you have label back here as well. When you click it, you can see there is this window opening up which is called placement, and you can see this is now at 132%, but you can scale that down to any percentage you like. Of course, this would be very small, but you could. But yeah, maybe 95% or so, or even 100 would be perfect in this case. And you can then easily just give it a little touch to the left or a little touch to the right, wherever you want that to be on the bottle, as well as maybe the top or the bottom. So you can give that your own unique area where you want that label to be. And you're now able to then, yeah, look at the label, give it a clear look if it does look good on the bottle. And I think this is very cool to have to understand how a label would look like on a bottle here specifically. In terms of what we can also do, because now this is probably what like concludes all of the things that you can apply it to, or you could maybe, I'll jump off here a little bit, you could also apply not only a red wine, you could also go with a white wine bottle. For example, you can just click here for wine bottle white, and then you can see this is how that bottle looks like with a white wine. You can see there's also liquid inside the bottle. So there are different kinds of options that you can choose from. So this is a white, this is a green bottle, there's a brown bottle here as well, for example, that you can apply to. So you can switch those glasses around here as well, to give it a different kind of perspective. But actually what I wanted to tell you as well is that you could change the substrate here on those materials, and it doesn't matter if it's a label or if it's a box, for example. And you can do that by going back here to that magic wand icon. When you go down here, there is a area which is called substrate. When you click in here, you have a couple of basic substrates in here, and you are able to then change that. For example, here, the Façon Antique, you can see it changes the texture of the substrate. So maybe this is not too evident now, but maybe we'll take the fibers looking one, and you can see it changes here the texture of this this label here on that substrate. And here it is really important to note that you can apply different kinds of substrates with all of the materials, so there's no limitations and we do not restrict this. So there might be the possibility that something is possible to do in Dream Composer, but it is not feasible to do in the real world. And we do not restrict this because we think that is important to then give you, the designers, the possibility to play around, try it out, and then get into the discussion when it comes to production. So because sometimes even if the first look is not physically feasible, there might be another way and another option that we can do it, even with these materials that we have here, which is not portrayed in Dream Composer. But yeah, that kind of concludes what you can do and apply on the project itself. You of course can later on then put different kinds of things here on it as well. But there's one more thing I want to show you, which is the camera icon down here. I'll just recenter this so we have a little bit of better view. And this camera section here helps you to always go back to specific presets of the camera angle that you want to have. So if you have different kinds of labels and you always want to have the same shot of something, you could do that here. So you could either drag here to a specific angle or punch the values up in here, or you can just turn and twist it to your specific angle you want to view that project from, and then also save this look or this angle to a preset. And you can do that by pressing create down here and give it a name. And you could either save that only for that project, or when you press global, it's being saved globally across all the other projects you have inside as well. So when you press create, you can then easily just go to a different kind of view. And when you want to jump back, you just click this label here and easily jump back to this view of that bottle or of that project that you have presets for. Yes, so that's kind of it with the Dream Composer and what you can do with it. Of course, we can go, of course, deeper into the nitty gritty, but that concludes the basics. And if you have specific questions to Dream Composer, I'm more than happy to answer them. Maybe just a couple more information, a little bit more information to the end here. If you want to try the software out, you can do that. We give out trials for 30 days. So you can either go to the landing page and then go to dreamcomposer.de, and when you scroll down, there's the possibility of just typing in get access, and there's put in your email address, and then we get a message, and we will be able to then give you a 30-day trial, or you can also just write me directly if you wanted to. That is easily done. I will set you up with a 30-day trial, and you can try the software out completely for free, no worries. And yeah, create something cool. All right, let's see if we have any questions. I'll just open up the questions panel from my side here as well. And I will give you a couple of seconds. I do not see any questions yet, but I have it up here. If you have questions, go ahead. We have a little bit more time. Here we have it. There is one question. It's in German, but I will translate it to English. It is, which kind of specifications need the PDFs to have when we upload it? So it's important when you upload the PDFs when you use Adobe Illustrator, for example, to go and have different kinds of layers. Yeah, first layer with the cut line, a second layer with the folding lines, and then the different kinds of layers that you want to embellish. And don't basically save it as an Adobe Illustrator file, save it as a PDF, and it doesn't need to be in a specific standard. You can just deselect the standard if you want to. Sometimes that helps, but there's no specific standard that needs to be selected when saving it or exporting it. It's just important that we are able to read those folding and cut lines, for example, then to then apply them to the material. But it's still a good question, as well as when it comes to folding and cut line and crease lines. If you are not able to name it like that, it's not a big deal. And if we're not able to automatically find the lines as well, it's also not a big deal. I will just jump back in here a little bit in that area. You are able to do that by yourself. By going here to that scissors icon, you can select your own cut and crease layers if you wanted to. So there's of course, this is now only a label. It only has the cut layer here. But if you would have a crease layer here as well, you're able to then select here either the scissors for cut and the crease layer, if you would have one, here this folded paper icon that you would be able to then select manually if you know what you do manually. All right. I hope this kind of answers the question. Good. I do not see any other questions yet. I'll just give you another second to think about it. Here we have another question. How much is the cost of the Dream Composer? So currently this is a yearly based model. This is a very good question. It's a yearly based model, and it's a little bit dependent on where you're at and which location, but I usually go like this. If you're interested, check out the free trial for 30 days. We'll have a separate meeting for this, and I can also go a little bit deeper on the pricing model there again. But just the frame agreement, the frame information is that it's a yearly subscription model, and it's user per user. Yeah, it's billed per user. All right. I do not see any more questions. In this case, I would like to thank you for listening and checking this demonstration out. Like I said, if you want to try it, go to dreamcomposer.de, select your check in with your email address, and then we will get a message and we will set you up. Or you can write me directly, and we will set you up with a trial. And it's very easy to do, and not any strings attached to this. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time in this afternoon, at least here in Germany. And I wish you still a wonderful day. And yeah, talk to you the next time.